Hey, this is Brandon Jones, author of the award-winning College Readiness 101 workbook series, here with another episode of the College Readiness 101 podcast. Now, today, I'm very excited because I have one of my partners in my new roundtable group, Miss Monet Bradley, here. We're going to be discussing first-generation college students, right? So this is a huge population of students still in 2021, and we're going to be talking about how we can assist those students, right? Those students whose parents did not go to college. And so Monet, for those individuals who don't know you, obviously I've met you, we've been talking, we've been trying to figure out some plans for students and families, but tell us a little bit about yourself and what you got going on.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Monet Bradley. I have a doctorate in pharmacy, but my path led me to education. So I'm going into my 7th year of teaching upper level science. I have worked with a wide range of students. I'm a Floridian, recently moved to Georgia.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to be here.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, you're Floridian. My family is Floridian. My family is from Pensacola. So, we do have that in common, right? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. First generation students. So, I know you're teaching a lot of AP sciences, right? I know you said you had a doctorate degree in pharmacy from FAM, right?
Right.
All right. So you got that. But tell us a little bit about your experience that you've had with first generation college students who would be first generation college students who are in your high school classes.
I didn't expect it going into teaching. I kind of took on the role of mom, counselor, advisor, because nowadays the school counselors don't really have time to focus on college prep with the students. They have to worry about graduation requirements, standardized testing. I kind of took on the role with a lot of my students being first generation students and just helping them, with the college admissions process.
Okay. And if you had to guess, if you had to kind of put like a number on that, what percentage would you say, your out of all of your classes, out of all of your students would be first generation students?
Out of all of my classes, it was about the population that I was in, 50% of the students.
Wow. That is very interesting to hear that, right?
Yeah.
In 2021, and I know it's going to be different by where you are and the population of your district. And I know there's a lot of that plays into it. But like you said, up to maybe around 50% of your students would be first generation college students in 2021, right?
Yeah.
So what that means is that there are a lot of resources that need to be in place for those students who've never been through a process or who don't have, immediate family members who can help them go through that process. So what are some of the things that you've kind of helped them do? What are your strategies when you are working with your first generation students?
First, just even having a conversation on their interests. Just, what they're interested in, their subject area, strengths and weaknesses, and just go from there, kind of assess, where they are, where they're trying to go, even, just developing their college list.
Yep.
And, just identifying schools, in the area, schools that are, outside of the area, within the Central Florida area, and just going from there and just building upon that.
Yeah. It's almost like building an education plan, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I'm doing with my workbook series and my workshops and things that I'm doing with students and families here in the Metro Atlanta area and actually around the country. We've been just building education plans.
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly what it's about. So okay. All right. So the first generation students, what you're starting to do is building an education plan, right? Helping them find out what their interests are, what schools they may be interested in. If they're interested in staying in state, out of state, just kind of building those things, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So when I was in college admissions and recruitment, and then also in student services, you could tell, those who did not have, that information, the lack of resources, you have to put those resources around them, which helps them out a whole lot, right? Because you have to break down as many barriers as possible. So when you were there and you're working with your students, what kind of barriers are you seeing that had to be removed for your students?
Well, first, I was teaching in a small town of Pearson, Florida.
Okay.
Some of the students hadn't even left that town.
Wow.
So the largest city next to us was Orlando. They hadn't even been to Orlando, Florida. So what I started doing was, because I was the senior class sponsor, I started putting together field trips, because we had the AVID program. So you had some students in the AVID program, so they were able to go on different college tours. But I had a bulk of students that weren't in that program. So I started putting together college tours for them to go on. Because I am a science teacher, we had involvement with STEM Day. So I set up different field trips just to even just open their eyes beyond the small town that they were in. So that was a big barrier. They don't even know the surrounding schools in the Central Florida area.
Yeah, I can see that being they don't even know the options in their area. I can see that. I can absolutely see that. And you're right. So I grew up in Clayton County. There are a lot of students who went to school with me who, like you said, just never traveled, never went anywhere. The college that they were familiar with was Clayton State, because it was right down the street from my school. And so I can see what you're saying about that. It's like they just don't know. You don't know what you don't know when you're in that situation, right? So, all right. So did you ever have conversations with your students' parents? Was there ever anything that you did for parents or guardians of those students?
Some students I had conversations. A lot of my students, it was 80% Hispanic.
Okay.
So along with them being first generation students, a lot of their parents did not speak English. So we had a language barrier.
Yep.
So I had to relay information back to the parents through the students.
Yeah. Now I could definitely see that being an issue, right? So right now I do a lot with students and parents. And so if I have a workshop or a boot camp with students who are speaking English, right? And they got to go back and regurgitate all this information to their parents, oftentimes very unsuccessfully, right? And so you are adding on top of that, there's a language barrier, like they're a Spanish speaking family, and now they're trying to figure this out with that lens on it too. So that's another barrier. You're right. That's another barrier that they have. Yeah, I can only imagine that. So you're helping them get through the process, build an education plan, take down barriers. And then what about your success stories? Kind of what are your students doing now that you've been working with?
I'm still in contact with a lot of my students who some have just graduated from college. So they're in the workforce. So I'm excited for that. Then some are going into their senior year.
Okay.
I just love to hear, how they're doing, like to keep up with them, to see, some challenges they may have faced going into college and just overcoming those obstacles.
Yeah.
And still sticking with it.
Yeah.
I had 2 recipients of the Dale Scholar.
It's a really good scholar. Yeah, absolutely.
So even helping with, finding scholarships and writing letters of recommendations and going over their essays, like I was hands-on, within the whole.
A lot of that.
Process.
Yeah. And, that's one of the things that I love about education. When I was working in student affairs and I was on the college campus, we would see students who had to persist through some type of obstacle, some type of barrier, some hardship. My job was to help them stay in school. I was working in retention, and I wanted to retain these students in school. So we would have wraparound services that we would try to provide for them, and just to see them walk across the stage, after having some type of barrier, some type of thing that they had to get through, was an intrinsic value that I have. There's nothing better than graduation time for me.
Right.
And so I'm excited about hearing you having kind of a similar experience, right? Making sure these first generation students have resources. And on a lot of college campuses, there are more resources that students can take advantage of if they are first generation college students. So, okay. All right. So I'm going to ask you for 3 tips. I'm going to ask you for 3 tips for any current college-bound students or college-bound parents who are listening to this, who may be first generation, right? I'm going to ask you, are there any tips, a couple of things that you would share with your students all the time that could kind of help them throughout this process?
A lot of students lack the necessary resources and knowledge, to help them. So I always say, do your research.
Do your research. Perfect.
Yeah, it's very important because, like you said, if they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
So you have to, dig deep and do your research.
Yeah. So that's number one. So do your research. I definitely understand that. We want to make sure that individuals are educating themselves on any processes, educating themselves on any opportunities.
Right.
So yeah, all right. Number two, is there any other thing that you would talk to, with your students?
Yeah. Just to be persistent.
Okay.
Don't give up, because, life brings about many challenges and obstacles, outside of school and education. Think about college, life happens.
Mm-hmm.
People never realize, what students go through on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So just not to give up and stay encouraged.
Yeah. I've noticed that as well. I had a couple of students who were going to school. Classes were beginning. They're in their classes. Their grades were beginning to drop a little bit. Come to find out, they weren't eating at home. Parents weren't there and things like that. And so you kind of realize, because I've never had that experience.
Right.
You kind of realize that, if you're hungry or if your home life isn't right, then you're not focusing on school, right? And so now you're right. You have to persevere through some certain things, but also you have to just say something. Right. A lot of people just have to say something, that they need some help. So, all right, I got that. Do your research, persist through, and the last thing, anything else you would talk to your students about?
Get a mentor if you can.
Oh, that was perfect.
Yeah.
Get them with Miss Bradley, right?
Yeah. Growing up, I was kind of trying to figure it out on my own. I mean, my parents went to college, but it was a different day and time. So, of course, I was, in advanced classes, the honor student, but I was just figuring it out on my own. So I wanted to give back to my students and, just help them eliminate some of the problems that I went through. So even if it's an older family member or a friend that you might have had in high school that's now in college, if you want to reach out to them to get information, or if it's a teacher that you trust and they're knowledgeable, seek them. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And to that point, I had my high school assistant principal when I was in ninth grade, 10th grade, became a mentor. I had also a mentor my ninth grade year. He was the first young African-American male teacher I've ever had. I was in ninth grade, right? And he took me and several other students, under his wing, and he became a real mentor to a lot of young black men, young black boys, at the school, and you need people like that, right? You need people to be able to help you, throughout whatever you're going through, and help you be successful when you grow up. So that's amazing, right? That's amazing that you're doing that. So, okay, all right. So that's good. So those 3 tips are for students and parents who are going through this college preparatory process and are getting ready to go to college for the first time, right, in their family. So I hear that all the time with students. I'm the first one to graduate from college. I'm the first one to go to college. I'm the first one to do this. And it just amazes me every time I hear that, and we're in 2021. It's just amazing. It's just amazing to hear that. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. This was great. Yeah. So I know that you're teaching the honors and AP, sciences, things like that, but you're also a co-founder of a college preparatory program, right? Yes. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about CROP.
So CROP, College Readiness Outreach Program, is a program that I co-founded with my cousin, Arvia Hall. And so we're a virtual one-on-one college prep consulting business. So right now, we're helping students in Florida and Georgia. So basically, we want to help as many students as we can, because even parents who have gone to college, things are always evolving. They're continually changing. So if you don't stay in the know, this process can be hard. So we just want to be a resource and just help students, with the college admissions process.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. So for those who want to get more information about CROP and the things that you're doing in your virtual program, how can they get in contact with you or get more information?
They can go on our website, cropcollegeprep.com. We're on social media with the handle @cropcollegeprep. And, we look forward to helping you.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So everybody, this is one of my partners, Ms. Bradley, Ms. Hall. They are phenomenal. I do a lot of brainstorming and we do a lot of programming for students. And so I'm very excited to have Ms. Bradley today. Thank you so much, Monet, for being a part of this. You are giving so much value to the listeners today.
I'm glad to be a part. Thank you for having me.
That's great. That's great. So let's close this one out. So if you like what you hear and you want to learn more, you can visit my website at collegereadiness101.com, and you can follow me on my social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook at College Readiness 101. And you can subscribe and like my podcast and YouTube channel, College Readiness 101. I look forward to speaking with you next time.